Here is a quick review of the American Revolution, the basics you need to know for quick studying, quick reviewing, and quick knowledge. How did the American Revolution start? Well, the independence started because the British colonists in America did not appreciate the British control and the British taxation without representation. They didn't appreciate the British crackdown with the Intolerable Acts and quartering that occurred with their soldiers after they protested some of these things. As a result, they went for independence. One of the things that spread for independence was the idea of the pamphlets by Thomas Paine. It's called Common Sense. In it, he simply explained independence and why it was necessary. It was mass-produced with over 500,000 copies distributed throughout the colonies, and it was very powerful. So when people read it, they became patriots, became people wanting to push for independence. The Declaration of Independence is an extremely powerful document, one of the most powerful documents in world history. It starts our country. It declares our independence from Britain, but more importantly, it establishes the rights that we want to establish in our country, the type of country we want to have. It sets the precedent for the type of people we want to be. It changes the world by inspiring other countries and inspiring other people to stand up for their rights and freedoms. The main author was Thomas Jefferson, who rose to the occasion when he was selected to the committee to write the Declaration of Independence. However, as great as the Declaration of Independence is, it is incomplete. It does not give specific rights to minorities or women. It continues the practice of slavery. It ignores the issue of slavery, and this was a massive mistake by our forefathers, as the issue of slavery will haunt our nation for over 100 years to come, as we deal with eventually with a massive civil war and issues of racism and inequality that we're still dealing with today. Challenges the Americans faced in the road to independence: they had a very limited government, hardly any government formed, unorganized. They had no military in the beginning. They had no navy. They had no supplies or way to get supplies. They had no way to raise taxes to get money. The men were very poorly trained, and the British were very strong. It seemed impossible that they could in any way defeat the British. However, the Americans did get many key victories throughout the war. Their first victory happened on basically the first day of the war, before the Declaration of Independence was even written, at Concord. They took advantage of British mistakes and innovated to win. At Fort Ticonderoga, they surprised the British and took over the fort and got valuable cannons. At Bunker Hill, even though they lost the territory, they inflicted heavy British losses, which helped them gain confidence because they had the high ground. At Dorchester Heights, they used the cannons from Fort Ticonderoga on the high ground, and George Washington actually kicked the British out of Boston by threatening them with cannons from up high. When all hope was lost after a terrible year of 1776, the Americans took advantage of British mistakes, and the British leaving Trenton, New Jersey, and going back to New York, and they used a surprise attack on the day after Christmas to take over Trenton and get the victory that they needed. With the British in hot pursuit for their army just after the Battle of Trenton, George Washington deceived the British and set campfires and distracting them to gain a victory at the Battle of Princeton. The Battle of Saratoga was the most important victory. It was the turning point of the war. We took advantage again of British mistakes, British disorganization, and we used new fighting techniques like killing the Native American scouts, shooting British generals, and roadblocks from knowing the land, flooding the fields, and using trees to block the pathways to slow the British down. As a result, the British got confused. They moved too slowly, and they eventually got surrounded and had to surrender 8,000 men, which convinced the French to help us, who have all the supplies that we need. The Battle of Yorktown was the final battle. Again, George Washington took advantage of the British getting in bad position, and with the French, they surrounded the British at Yorktown, were able to close in on them and make them surrender another huge army, which eventually led to the British giving up. Valley Forge is a key moment in the war. It's not a battle. It was a terrible winter that the Americans had to survive. Meanwhile, the British were living in luxury just 20 miles away in the city of Philadelphia. Although Valley Forge was tragic and over 2,000 people died, the Americans overcame smallpox, other diseases, starvation, lack of supplies, and freezing, but in the end they became tougher than ever. Baron von Steuben from Prussia taught them how to fight in a traditional format, learning how to use bayonets, how to charge and move together in open fields, and they emerged from the terrible winter tougher, stronger, more together than ever, thanks to the tremendous job of leadership by George Washington. So how did the Patriots pull off this upset? They took advantage of many, many British mistakes. The British were undisciplined, lazy, and sloppy throughout this conflict, and the Americans took advantage. We had tremendous leadership with George Washington. He was able to motivate and get the men together and use tremendous strategy to take advantage of British mistakes. We were creative and innovative, using new fighting techniques like guerrilla fighting, ambushes, taking advantage of high ground and knowing the territory. We made a definite decision for independence, and we had let nothing stop us, and we used the homeland advantage to help us pull off the victory. The Treaty of Paris ended the war in 1783. It gives us all the land south of Canada and all the land east of the Mississippi River and creates a new nation. What can we learn and apply in our own life from this war? Well, we have to have discipline. The British lack of discipline cost them dearly. The power of a focused group who makes a definite decision is very, very powerful. Think about our founding fathers and the decision they made to start a new nation, to start a new system, and to improve on the British system. Very powerful. They worked together. They would not be stopped for their goal. We have to fix problems while they're small. The problem that we left in the Declaration of Independence by not dealing with the issue of slavery and rights for women and minorities will just grow and cause us many, many problems in the future. Always deal with your problems right away. Our men were very determined. We moved with speed and definite purpose, while the British were not determined, not motivated, and they hesitated, procrastinated, which led to them having many problems. We used our strengths, knowing the homeland, and we developed our weaknesses. By the end of the war, some of our weaknesses became strengths. We used our allies. We had friends. The British had no friends because they mistreated so many other nations along the way. And when the times got tough at Valley Forge and at the Battle of New York, and in the year of 1776, we just kept going. We pushed through. We pushed forward. And then we found the opportunities we needed to get the job done and form a new nation. Hope this was helpful. And that's a quick review.